Well, hello there everyone, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for another video. Today I'm going to be showcasing the Simon Says Stamp September 2025 card kit, which is called Birthday Blitz. This card kit is jam-packed with both color and fun, so if you like making birthday cards, this is the kit that you're going to want to check out. In today's video, I'm going to show two different ways on how I used pattern paper from the card kit to level up my designs and create two really fun cards. One of the cards that I'm creating is an edge-to-edge shaker, one of my favorites, but the technique we'll be using to create the card features using an embossing folder with pattern paper, and then I did use the pattern paper to help build my sentiment. The second project that I'll be sharing today is taking a piece of pattern paper that has some text elements to it and using that to help form the sentiment for my card. It's also going to make a really cool backdrop for these balloons that we'll be adding as well. So this is the card that we're going to create first, and to create these really cute balloons I'm using the new party balloon die set that's included in the kit, which is one of 4 brand new dies that are included in the September 2025 card kit. A side note on this, I had the pleasure of designing all 4 die sets, so I hope you enjoy them. I didn't get to use the other 3 in today's video, but I am excited to be able to create with them. I already did do a bit of fun die cutting on my own, and I'm so excited with how they turned out. They work exactly how I originally intended, which is always a great feeling. Okay, so to build this party balloon, I've picked out a bunch of scraps of colored cardstocks that I have in my stash, and I'm going to cut the 2 pieces of the balloon with a light and a dark color of cardstock. So I'm using the light colors of cardstock to create the highlight area for my balloons, and then I'm using the darker colors to create the balloon base. You don't have to add the highlight. The balloon die works just fine without it, but it does add a fun little dimensional aspect to the balloon, which I think is a lot of fun and unique. So I'm going to glue each of these pieces together, the highlight for the corresponding base, with some Simon Says Stamp Positively Perfect craft glue. This glue is great for using with your die cuts and gluing pieces of paper together. Once I glued all of my balloons together, as you can see, I've got a purple, a blue, a yellow, a green, and a pink. Then I'm going to flip them over to the back side and add a line of craft tacky glue to that back side of the cardstock down along where the base of the balloon is. And that's going to allow me to lay a bit of iridescent cord into that craft tacky glue. The craft tacky glue is a little bit thicker and a great adhesive for more dimensional items. So it's going to work really well for holding on to this twine as I glue it onto each balloon to form the balloon strings. While that's drying, I'm bringing in the Postage Edge Frames die set from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm framing up this piece of pattern paper that features a text element. Oftentimes with pattern paper, you see some text elements included in them, and it's not always something that I tend to use, but I thought I would step out of the box here and show you a unique way of being able to utilize this to help form a sentiment for your card. This also has some really great pinwheels on this piece, so it's a really fun pattern to pair up with my balloons, which I really like. I am laying these balloons down onto the project with some foam squares on the back side of them, but I'm being very careful not to press this down firmly until I'm perfectly sure of the placement of each of these balloons. Once I'm happy with it, then I can give these a good press down. I do want to adhere that cording to my project, just so that way the balloon strings aren't flying around all over my card. So I'm just putting some small dots of adhesive onto the pattern paper and then laying the balloon strings into that adhesive. That'll dry and hold the strings down really nicely. I am going to trim off the excess because these balloon strings I did purposefully make longer than I needed, just so that way I had plenty of twine to hang off the edge of my card. So all of that excess I just trimmed up. Now I'm bringing in some cute little gold star confetti pieces. These are not part of the kit, but I thought they would make a really cute embellishment around my balloons and catch the light nicely. There are some stars accenting the pattern paper, which is another reason why I wanted to bring those in for the embellishment. So I'm just using some of that Positively Perfect craft glue to adhere these down, and I'm using my Place and Score tool to help me get them placed perfectly onto my project. So the sentiment on our pattern paper says, "the best." We want to finish this off to form a birthday card. In your September card kit, you get 2 sheets of Simon Says Stamp Easy Strips Birthday Sentiments. So these work perfectly with the Simon Says Stamp Easy Strip die, which I have here. It's not part of the kit, but you can get it as an add-on if you don't already have it. But this works great for cutting out all of the sentiments all at once. If you don't want the die, you could just cut the greetings out one at a time. But I ran this through my die cut machine and now I have all these greetings cut out all at once, which makes mass producing cards really simple and easy. I'm going to pick out 2 greetings that are going to help form the full sentiment for my project. So this one here I had to modify. It says cheers to a very, and I just cut off a very, so it now just says cheers to. The sentiment in the paper says the best, so we have cheers to the best, and I'm finishing it off with birthday. I'm going to trim this one up too, just so it has a little bit of a tighter margin. And then these are going to get layered onto the pattern paper. So it forms that really great greeting, and the pattern paper helped us create that, which I think is really cool. It's a great way to utilize some of these pattern papers that have text elements in them. I'm going to color the edges of my cardstock, my sentiment strips, with a black marker. I do this for every one of my black sentiment strips because it just makes the paper look like it is a solid black core cardstock, which helps give a cleaner look. I love seeing a black edge on these sentiments. I popped this up onto a card base that I've covered with some teal cardstock on the front, and then that offsets that beautiful pattern paper and the colorful balloons perfectly. So there is one way on how you can use pattern paper. Take one of your pattern paper sheets that has some text elements to it and incorporate that into your greeting somehow. You could definitely do this with other pattern paper sheets that you have. All right, moving on to card number 2. This one is a shaker card, and I was so happy I got to make an edge-to-edge shaker card because I haven't done one in a while, and they're one of my favorite cards to make. In the Simon Says Stamp September 2025 card kit is this really great embossing folder that features a bunch of different birthday sentiments. So I'm going to emboss this folder onto some of the pattern paper from the card kit, and this is going to form a nice backdrop. This is an A2 card panel, so it's 4¼ by 5½, and I've run this through my die cut machine, and as you can see, the text elements fit perfectly within an A2 card panel. To accent the words just a little bit, I'm using my Tim Holtz sanding discs. I've applied it to a mini round blending tool, and I'm just going to run this over the raised areas of my pattern paper to reveal the white core of the paper, because pattern paper is printed, so you always have a white core there. That gives me a really nice contrast on the pattern paper, which looks really cool. I love that texture. Now I'm going to lay this onto a piece of plastic that I've cut down. This is from a clear bag that I purchased from Simon Says Stamp, but you can also use leftover stamp packaging too if you'd like. I'm going to cover all 4 edges of my cardstock panel here with some Terrific tape. You can use any double-sided adhesive you want. Terrific tape is my favorite adhesive for this, but I'm just going to cover the 4 edges and then remove the release paper from 3 of those edges. We want to leave one edge of the adhesive still intact, so that way we can form a pocket and still have an opening in which we can pour our sequins. So the exposed adhesive is allowing me to fold the edges of my plastic around the pattern paper, and that is forming a pocket that my sequins are going to sit inside of. I do like to trim up the corners of my plastic just a little bit, so that way they have a cleaner finish. Now that my pocket is formed, we still have the opening at the other end. I can start pouring in some sequins. I had this really pretty mix of Simon Says Stamp sequins. This was the Rainbow Party Mix, and I only had a small amount of it left. So I'm going to use all of that up in my project, but then I added a few extra things. I added some gold confetti, which I used on my first card. I also used these really fun birthday confetti clay beads from Pretty Pink Posh. And then finally, I did add some marshmallow sequins from Simon Says Stamp, just to add a little bit more of that white color to the project. So once I've filled my shaker with a whole bunch of random goodness, then I'm just going to remove the release paper from that last edge of my paper, fold the plastic into it, and that's going to sandwich everything inside. So now I have this cute little pocket jam-packed with sequins. I love a really full shaker, so I went all in on this one. I like to give it a good shake to get everything mixed up, but check out how that looks so cool on top of this pattern paper background. So we've not only used the pattern paper as the backdrop for our card, but we added some really cool text elements to it by using the embossing folder from the kit to emboss over top. So we get the really unique texture and dimension on our pattern paper now, which is really cool. This is kind of a bonus from the pattern paper techniques. I had this panel of pattern paper from the card kit that had this sentiment that says this right here. And I was determined to turn this into a greeting for my card and layer it on top of my shaker. So I'm going to trim this out. I'm just freehanding this because it's pretty easy to trim it out, but you could use a paper trimmer if you want really perfect straight lines. I'm going to pair up these pattern paper sentiments with some of the cute little easy strip sentiments that I've already cut out from my first card. So as you can see, I'm arranging these to form the sentiment that says, "This birthday, I'm extending the celebration." I am going to put a pause in between all of that using a gold strip of metallic paper, but then the rest of the greeting will continue on by saying, right here, we're celebrating you. So I've left a space there in the middle that I can go ahead and adhere this cute little piece of gold metallic paper on top. I have it sized to be the same width as the birthday sentiment that I have in this stack. I'm just putting a bit of liquid glue on the backside, and then with my tweezers, I'll carefully place that in between so that forms the pause in my greeting. So this forms a really unique greeting, which I think is really fun. It allows me to utilize my pattern paper pieces in a unique way. And the best part is that it's a greeting that is super unique. I think it's always fun to have something a bit unexpected, and the typography on this sentiment here is just killer. I love it. It feels like a ransom note, but in a really cool way. Well, I hope that from all of the ideas that I've shared today, you've picked up something that you might want to try on your next crafty project. I know we all have a stash of pattern paper, so even if you don't have the September 2025 card kit from Simon Says Stamp or the Simple Stories Fun Time pattern paper that I used, which is, like I said, part of the Simon Says Stamp September 2025 card kit, even if you don't have either of these products, I'm sure you have pattern paper within your stash that you could find that would do something very similar here. So I encourage you, take a peek at what you've got and see if you can create something based off of the ideas that I've shared today. I hope they were inspiring. I can't wait to come back and share more with you all. Not only do I have more videos coming out here in August, but I am gearing up for Stamptember 2025, which is Simon Says Stamp's month-long celebration of stamping. So I'll have a lot more content coming for you very soon. So I look forward to seeing you again. But until I do, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thanks so much for watching.